Hello and welcome to Budget and Beyond, a Facebook live series by Firstpost. Today we are speaking to well-known agricultural economist and RBI Chair Professor at ICRIER, Dr. Ashok Gulati, on the crisis facing Indian agriculture and the possible solutions. Welcome, sir, to Budget and Beyond. The CSO data...
First, a correction.
Yes.
I'm not RBI Chair Professor, I'm Infosys Chair Professor.
I see.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
It should not be attributed to what RBI is thinking.
Right, I'm so sorry. So the last week the CSO data came out which showed that agricultural growth was really very low. What is your reading of the situation as far as agricultural growth is concerned?
You know, the data that came out from CSO shows that the rate of growth has again gone down to 2.1%. So 17-18 agriculture GDP is likely to be 2.1%. It was 4.9% previous year, and before that almost zero or negative. So if you look at the 4 years of the Modi government, the agriculture growth turns out to be 1.9% only. Now that perhaps is one of the lowest so far since the reform started in 91. That doesn't augur very well for agriculture sector. Now many people would say don't worry about agriculture growth, worry about their incomes, which is laudable that yes, we should worry about farmers' incomes. But incomes can come from either augmenting productivity or diversification towards high-value agriculture or by cutting down costs. All that in a very capsule form gets reflected in what is happening to agriculture growth, the overall GDP. So agriculture income or farmers' incomes cannot increase very much faster than what is happening to agriculture as such. Because if you look at the incomes of the farmers, the four components that are there, what is happening to the crop sector, what is happening to animal husbandry, what is happening to their wages and salaries, which may be within agriculture or outside agriculture, and there is a little portion of non-farm business income. So much of their income, they are still deriving from farm-related activities. And if that is not doing good, then we have this clarion call from the Honorable Prime Minister that the real incomes or incomes of the farmers will be doubled by 2022.
Do you see
Initially, we thought it may be in nominal terms they are talking, but then an expert committee was set up on that, the Dalwai committee. It has come out with 14 volumes of reports. 5 volumes of 868 pages are already on the website. Now, it clearly says that we are not talking in nominal terms, we are talking in real terms. And it's not 5-year horizon, it is 7-year on the base of 15-16. By 2022-23, we want to double. Now, that requires a growth rate of 10.4% per annum. Now, to achieve 10.4% per annum increase in farmers' incomes, agriculture must grow at least 7-8%, 9%, and something coming from non-agriculture sector. Here the reality is, first 4 years, the agriculture has grown at less than 2%.
Yes.
So what is the strategy in the making? I fail to understand how they will raise the agriculture growth to levels, and the Dalwai committee clearly states that 70 to 80% of the farmers' income must come from agriculture sources. Now, if that is so, then you must get 7, 8, 9% rate of growth in agriculture. And you're not even able to retain where agriculture was. The 10 years of UPA government, the agriculture growth rate is 3.7%. Right? And if you look at business as usual scenario, the earlier 2 rounds of NSS on farmers' incomes, between 2002-03 to 12-13, the real incomes have grown at 3.6% per annum. So it's not very different from what is happening to agriculture. Now, if 3.7 was considered somewhat less satisfactory, the expectation was that it will be doubled or tripled. 10.4% is almost tripling. Now tripling, you're not able to retain even where he was. And the Kharif 2017, the prices have collapsed so much, the profitability has fallen. So I wonder from where, how, what is the strategy and what is the thinking. Wishes are great, everybody would like. Even I would like. You know, it will be a dream come true if by 2022 real incomes of the farmers are doubled. And it's not that no one has done in the world. China did it in 6 years, but that was between 78 to 84 and they concentrated on agriculture reforms. Can India do that? I doubt.
I'm going to come to that. So, you know, the years of UPA government, I remember you were also very critical of the UPA government's policies on agriculture. And now things have gone worse. So, was the UPA doing something right and is the NDA doing something wrong? Because if you look at the whole farmers' unrest, which is really becoming quite worrying this year, Gujarat has been a major source of farmer unrest. And I remember your columns where you actually once praised the Gujarat model of agricultural development. So what has the present government done wrong? Why has it not been able to replicate the Gujarat model of agriculture and get some rewards?
You know, why we praised Gujarat model, I was not concerned with the industry or non-agriculture.
Sure, no, I was talking specifically about agriculture.
During Mr. Modi's time as Chief Minister, between 2002-3 to 13-14, Gujarat's agriculture registered a growth rate of 8% per annum. 8% per annum, which is the highest amongst all the states of India, all major states of India. Now, if any state can give that, I will stand on a table and salute that state, right? Now, we expected a similar thing, maybe, repeated. Gujarat model will be scaled up at all India level. And promises were given in the election manifesto of 2014 that we will raise profitability of the farmers at 50% above cost. Now, that was great to hear, so we were expecting some major reforms in the agriculture sector. Unfortunately, the first 2 years of the Modi government were hit by severe droughts back to back. Now, that's not their fault, but the stalwarts are known in bad times, and real reforms take place when there is a crisis. So there was a sort of a crisis of water, and I think Modi government did take some bold steps. They initiated long-term irrigation fund with NABARD with 40,000 crores. And they fixed the target that by 2019, 99 projects which were shortlisted will be completed. We just checked a few days back how many have been completed. Only 10 so far. And out of 10, I think the field channels are not been completed in 3 or 4. So the water hasn't reached the farmers when the benefits will come. So whether by 2019 they'll be able to complete 99 projects or it will spill over to 2022 or 2025, God knows. Same thing, Mr. Modi did change the crop insurance system.
Yes.
Fasal Bima Yojana. And we were closely in way associated with the working of that, and we strongly recommended that. And they took a big, bold decision. I think last year they paid about 22,000 crores as premium. Scaling up is taking place, but the farmers are not getting the damage, the reimbursement of the damage in time. I recall in UP there were floods and we talked to farmers. They said, we haven't got anything, and this was 2-3 months after the floods. I said, why? We called the companies, talked to companies, insurance. They said, we know damage has been done, but we have not given the, the damage, the insurance amount to them because we haven't got the premium from the state government. So we talked to state government and they said we haven't received the premium money from the center. because center has to give half the state has to give. So it is the implementation issues.
I believe even in the implementation issues, a lot of the lonely farmers, they are compulsorily brought under this Bima Yojana, and apparently the premium is being deducted from their accounts without their knowledge.
This is such a simple thing to fix. In fact, I talked informally to the secretary. I said, listen, when from the bank, the premium is going to the insurance company. Why insurance company should not inform the potential beneficiary that you have been insured for such and such amount and this premium has been deducted? Like when we insure our car or anything, we get all that document. Why the farmer shouldn't get that? And nothing, farmer even doesn't know whether he has been insured, which company, how much money. So it is actually the money is going from the bank to the insurance companies without any accountability in that sense. Because if the benefit doesn't reach the farmer, real beneficiary who has incurred damage because of drought or flood or anything else, then what is the point of that insurance? So I think we have to be very, very careful that good ideas can go haywire if the implementation is not proper.
Another area where implementation is not proper, again a big reform which this government brought in, was the ENAM, which was trying to bring a national agricultural market. But even there, apparently in a lot of mandis, there are a lot of issues. One, of course, interstate trading is not allowed. It is still trading within the mandi. Intrastate is not allowed. Interstate, of course, is still not allowed. And you headed a committee looking at the legal hurdles to that. So ENAM also, would you say, is more or less a failure or not taking off the way it should?
You see, this is again a great idea to create a national market. A wish can come true if that happens. I don't see that happening in the next 5 years. Why? What is happening is that we are trying to put a software without ensuring that the product has been graded properly, something is assigned, it has been assayed, graded and then stored, and if sitting in Delhi I want to buy a product of Maharashtra, then who is going to assure me what you are showing me on the computer will be delivered? And if that is not delivered, like in Amazon.com, I can always return, though I have the right to return. Who is signing on that the delivery will be of the quality and specification that is being shown? There has to be a dispute settlement mechanism. So the basics of marketing for enlarging where the trust factor can come in of the quality and the specification, if that is not done, this will never become an all-India market. I talked to the persons who were bidding on the computers and I asked them, how are you doing it? He said, first we went to the commission agents and we looked at the mark. Us commission agent ka acha hai, iska bura hai, so we will bid for this and not for. So I said, if you are outside the market, will you bid? Kehta, how do I bid? I don't know what is that material. So unless I see and touch it, I don't want to bid. So just installing a software, you can't create an all-India market, Baba. Why Amazon.com has an all-India market for its products? Because it is giving me a guarantee that if I don't like, as I open, I will return without any question to me. Are you giving that confidence to the persons who are buying? And if there is a dispute, who is going to settle the dispute? Who is signing on the quality? ऊपर वाली लेयर आपने बहुत अच्छी दिखा दी और नीचे उसके कुछ और कचरा डाल दिया, तो how that will work? So I think we are a long way. We have to do the basics of marketing right. We have to improve the infrastructure of the mandis. ENAM is a great idea, but just to show what you are selling to FCI as ENAM sales, this is trying to, befool your own self.
In terms of marketing of agricultural products, we recently saw, farmers throwing potatoes on the streets because they're not being able to sell them. There's a glut. Our interstate, we're talking about GST creating a national market. Have we got over these border issues in terms of agricultural goods, or as one state you can't sell to another state without permissions? Are those problems still there, and how can they be overcome?
these problems have been there for decades and they are not gone away. As a farmer, he has the right to sell anywhere. But actually, farmer cannot bring it to Delhi or anywhere else. It's the traders who do it. And traders will have restrictions time and again on those questions. And this is where I think the very fact, if you are selling onions at 2 rupees in MP and in Delhi you are still buying at 20 rupees, or potatoes at 2 rupees in Agra and in Tamil Nadu they are still buying at 30 rupees, 40 rupees, then there is something seriously wrong. First, with all the humility, one should admit that there is a serious marketing crisis of agricultural commodities in the country. And therefore, list out that these are not 20 but 3 or 4 or 5 steps that we need to take.
Which are those 3 or 5 steps which you think should be taught?
At present, I would say, let us say, there is the biggest crisis in vegetables. Onions were thrown 3 months back. That's how Madhya Pradesh eruption of farmers' violence and whatnot started off.
Now it's potatoes.
And now it is potatoes in UP. You have to fix the system. Now, what is it that you can do? We did that in case of milk.
Yes.
Right? How did we do it? We first aggregated the produce at the village level itself. Whether it was through cooperatives, today you have farmer-producer organizations.
Yes.
You have more than 2,000 farmer-producer organizations floated by or supported by NABARD. You had more than 700 or so which SFAC had done. You can start with them, grade them. First, farmer-producer organizations should bring their produce, make a lead farmer group of 15, 20, 50, whatever. Bring the produce there, clean it, package it, barcode it from which group it is coming so you can have the traceability. And then link it to the processors, to the organized retailers. If milk can be distributed through organized retail,
which is much more perishable,
dairy and others, why can't fruits and vegetables? So you can ride on this, which is the already infrastructure there. So you have to link the consuming centers with the producing centers. And you must know what the demand and supplies are. If there is a mismatch, supplies exceed demand by 10% or 20%, you must be able to process it. You must be able to store it for a longer period and tell the farmers, don't grow now. Otherwise, there will be a glut. So we need to get into processing. If potatoes are there, why don't you make even vodka from potatoes? Yes, it will be. If you have excess of production, instead of throwing it in the gutter, better put it in the high value. There are 20 other uses that you can make. So many of those laws also need to be changed. For example, today corn cannot be put in ethanol. You can. All these laws are there, but when you have excess production, you should liberalize your laws of yesterday, which are made of scarcity era. So I think a lot of change is needed. You have to remain focused, and there would be investment needed because there would be infrastructure that needs to be created.
Cold chains.
Cold chains is one part of the storage, overall storage. Processing is important, and link it with the processors, link it with the organized retailers. That's how a seamless flow. Why don't you put it on Amazon.com? If I can get khakra processed material on Amazon.com, why can't I get even fresh? You can deal with them. They will have their distribution centers at different places and distribute, and they can do it over a period of time, 3 months stock, 6 months stock, and distribute at a regular prices. This type of fluctuation from 2 rupees to 50 rupees, it's totally lack of any planning.
Has this got anything to do with the fact that, agriculture is a state subject, so a lot of the reforms that need to be done are to be done at the level of the states. And there, and especially in agriculture, there are a lot of political vested interests and all which are at work, which don't allow these reforms. Even the APMC reforms are held up mainly because of the middlemen. Is that one reason?
There is no doubt that agriculture is a state subject in the Constitution. But if you look at the history of Indian agriculture, the biggest changes that came in agriculture did not come from states. They came from centers' ideas and centers' planning and pushing for it. green revolution, the milk revolution, even the cotton revolution that came, all have been driven by the center, right? So I don't see that because it's a state subject, therefore we can't reform agriculture. Okay, even if you grant that it is a state subject, today BJP is in 19 major states of India. It is 2/3 of the India's population, right? And I don't think if Prime Minister calls all the 19 chief ministers and says that these are the 3 things that we must get done within the next 3 months, why can't it be done? This is the most fortunate situation for the BJP today. They have to get the markets right, otherwise there could be a very long. It's a further unrest because farmers, their profitability has gone below cost.
But many people point out that it can't be in such a bad situation because farm wages of laborers are going up. Is that probably also adding to the stress of the farmers in terms of input costs?
You know what had happened? Farm wages for 10-12 years remained more or less in real terms stagnant. And then you will see about 2006-07 to about 12-13, the farm wages went up by about 6.9%, 7% per annum, which was the golden period for agriculture as well as for farm labor. किसान को कुछ मिलेगा तो आगे देगा ना, जब किसान को कुछ नहीं मिल रहा तो आगे क्या देगा? ठीक है? So now they came down after that. So the rate of growth, अब वो इस क्वार्टर में बढ़ गया, इससे एक क्वार्टर में बढ़ गया, एक क्वार्टर में नीचे चले गया, उससे कुछ नहीं पता चलता. ठीक है? There are number of other factors that play. मनरेगा बीच में आ जाता है, और farm development हो रही है नहीं हो रही है, all those factors. But on a long-term series, when you look at what has happened to wage rate, that golden period of agricultural labor has gone. And if the profitability of the farmer is under tremendous squeeze, don't expect much of the agricultural labor and poverty alleviation.
The Niti Aayog proposed, and I think 2 states have started this, which is this price deficiency payment system. 2 questions relating to that. One, is there a danger that it will become another MSP kind of a situation which gets politically used? And also, is this a good idea? Can it get implemented well? Because in Madhya Pradesh, you've already seen traders are then naturally depressing prices, so the urad farmers are facing a problem. Is this a good idea, first of all?
You know, it's an idea which is being tried. The jury is still out whether it is good or bad, because again you have to look at the implementation. Now what is coming when we are analyzing quite in detail, that in Madhya Pradesh it led to undue suppressing of the prices,
by the
market
traders?
prices. Now whether there is collusion of the traders or other things, but that the market price came even 50% below MSP is unprecedented. And this is
especially for
dal, and you know they feel, oh, now the government will give you the difference, so let us try to put it even further down, so that the traders can gain later on from whatever source. So this danger that it is going to lead to a massive depression will actually empty the coffers of the government, because then more and more payment will have to be. Very little will be left for fixing the markets, the infrastructure that is needed, the storage that is needed, the processing that is needed. To give you one little example, Madhya Pradesh, it was even before this Bhavantar started, because the onion crisis came and farmers were throwing onion at 2 rupees a kg. The Honorable Chief Minister said we will buy at 8 rupees a kg, because this cost is about 5 to 6 rupees a kg. Very good. There were 10 kilometers long queues, 10-kilometer long queues to sell to the state government. Now they procured all the onion, but what happened in 10 days? बदबू मारने लग गया, इसको बेच दो, 2 रुपए पे बेच दो, 2.25 रुपए पे, जितने पे बिके. In about 1.5 month operation or so, Madhya Pradesh government spent 785 crores net loss. But on food processing, the whole of food processing, they spent only 7 crores in a whole year. Now, if you had dehydration plants, 20 of them, in 785 crores, you could have had 50 plants which would have solved the problem of onions forever.
And of employment.
And employment, exports, and even more demand of onions. So you have not fixed the problem. You have temporarily tried to give them the loss that the farmers were incurring. And in that process, when you were selling back at 2 rupees, many traders were buying and coming back in the queue and all those things. People are smarter than the governments. So all said and done, we need to fix the markets. We need to link them with processing. We need to link the farmers with the retailers and therefore organize retailing. Organized retailing is not only big box retailing. It is also, Amul is also doing organized retailing in a proper manner so that they know how much is the demand and how much needs to be supplied. And if the supply is more, then make skimmed milk powder of that and store it.
Yes, exactly.
For the lean season. There would be lean seasons and there would be, flush season. So same thing you can do for most of the vegetables, most of the fruits. Why don't we dehydrate whenever there is excess supply?
So basically our agriculture policy is just a question of misplaced priorities. We are just spending on reactive, on loan waivers, MSP hiking, whether or not people get the MSP, but we're not fixing the real issues. The other thing is, are we focusing, the focus was always on farms, but what about livestock and dairy and all? Are they getting adequate policy attention? Are there any problems there that need to be seriously addressed?
Number of things. The future of farmers' incomes will not come from cereals. It has to come from fruits and vegetables and livestock. Right? Livestock, dairy is one part, poultry,
yes,
fishery, you have all these. And they require very different type of infrastructure, institutional structures. And poultry revolution has been happening without government even knowing about it.
So is it best then we don't have the government at all doing any of these things?
But the big players are outsourcing with the smaller players. The hatcheries, Venkateshwara hatcheries or Suguna hatcheries and all that,
yes,
how they outsource and that. So that model has to be allowed. Now, in crop sector, you're not allowing that.
Contracts, yes.
So you need to change the marketing laws. We have been talking since 2003. We haven't done that. So I think we need to change the institutional structures, the changing of the laws, rules of the game. We need to invest. Either the government needs to invest or the private sector has to invest, or both can jointly invest, public-private partnership, so that door should be open. But the fact is, get the markets right. Getting the markets right means infrastructure has to be fixed. The suppliers must know how much is the demand, because that information has to come in. Otherwise, there will be always a major mismatch, and that is what will cause high fluctuations. And link it with processing and retailing, and that's the way to go. And that requires hard work. It requires focused work with perseverance. Just having good heart, I want to help the farmer, I want to double income. But Baba, everybody loves to double income. How will you do it?
Pledge.
I challenge.
Pledge.
Pledge से क्या हो जाएगा? Doubling, सीधा उनके अकाउंट में डाल दो, क्या वो doubling of income होगा? Is that sustainable? Their productivity has to increase, their quality has to increase. You have to open up export channels where the better pricing can be given.
Coming to exports on trade also, and you also have been very critical of the very ad hoc policy we have on agricultural trade. Do you see any signs of this being addressed?
I think there is an inbuilt consumer bias in the system. You and me in urban areas are very vocal. And therefore, we want any increase in price, we start shouting. Okay? So immediately government clamps down on export bans, stocking limits, rate maar do, onion ka price बढ़ गया 6 रुपए से 12 रुपए तो rate डाल दो. What are you doing? No investor will come to then have storage facilities. तो जब bumper harvest आएगा, तो price तो crash करेगा because there is no storage. Now, output has to come in a limited span of 3, 4, 6 weeks. But you want to consume throughout the year. Somebody has to store ना. Government क्या गोभी खरीद के रखेगी? Private sector ही रखेगा ना. So I think we have to be very clear. first all this restriction on storage should be thrown out of the window. We must encourage and invite, and government should say 50% subsidy, come and store. No agricultural produce should go waste. We have one of the highest wastages of agricultural produce in the world.
So that brings us to another law which is sort of hampering this all the time, which is the
Essential Commodity Act, of course. That's a law of the past of 1955. It was actually 1939, Second World War.
Yes.
So I think we need to get out of that. We are not in that situation of 1950s or 60s. If we cannot change those laws, we are as blind.
Yes.
So I think it's high time. Modi ji is in a very fortunate situation. He is controlling the larger chunk of India's major states. And if he calls chief ministers and do all the marketing reform, this is the Modi movement. If he can do that, then farmers will salute him for 20 years to come. Because their income will go up in a sustainable manner and in a market-driven manner, not by handouts of the government, not of charities. They don't want that. You must fix the system and give them. If as a consumer I am spending 100 rupees on any agricultural produce, can I assure that the farmer will get at least 60% of that, 70% of that? Amul does that, 75, 80%, it goes to the farmer. Can we do that in fruits and vegetables? Can we do that in other crops? If we can do that, we have succeeded. If not, we must admit we have failed despite our best slogans, despite our best pledges, despite our best wishes.
Final question. The budget is just a few weeks away. What would you want the budget to do to address this crisis, or can the budget do anything at all? Is it really a question of implementation? What would you like to see in the budget?
We had discussed this with the FM. The first budget consultation is with the agriculture people. I had put before him a submission of only 3 points.
Which were they?
First is, again, this Operation Top, what I call Operation Veggies. Tomatoes, onions, potatoes, start with these 3 and link them the way we have done Operation Flood in Milk. You do that in this. So you can actually get some better price for the farmer. Second, irrigation fund, you have announced 40,000 crores with NABARD, but not even 10 projects. So get the things at least on Fasal Bima Yojana and on irrigation. Both are great moves you have made. I congratulate. But things are not moving on the ground. Fix that. This is within your system. Why farmer after damage within 2 weeks, 4 weeks should not get the compensation? Fix a limit within 1 month of the damage. They must get, as you and me get once we have an accident or this or that. So it is fixing the system. Third biggest thing if you want to do, I think fertilizer subsidy and food subsidy. You in principle have accepted DBT.
Yes.
And you are saying it is saving you money. The biggest saving will come from food and fertilizer subsidies putting in DBT. It can be done. We have done enough detailed work behind that, how to do it. And if he goes that way, he will save at least 30 to 40,000 crores every year. Because that much is the leakage and wastage that is going on.
In the case of fertilizer DBT is the fact that farmers with the whole land titling issue, will that become a problem because the farmer who's actually the tenant farmer may not get and the absentee landlord may get the subsidy amount? Would that be an issue?
2 points. One, we should look at what is happening around the world. People, country after country has moved from price support to income support, right? China lately has put all the input subsidies on per hectare basis, all input subsidies. Now you do what you like, whether you want to have wine with that, go and have it, this is what we will give you, and then markets are free. So the price correction that takes place. But what is the problem in fertilizer sector? NPK pricing is totally haywire.
Yes.
And therefore the consumption of N is more than P and K, and that is leading to inefficient use, total waste. Now, issue of tenant versus owner. I asked the Chinese fellows. I said, we give it to the owner, and then they know, and you advertise, so either they adjust in the rental value of the land, right? Or they pass on.
That's interesting.
Now, I would say another thing. I think the greatest thing that I found within the first 2 years that Mr. Modi did, Jan Dhan accounts, which we could never dream. Today, I think 88-90% of the farmers and all people in the country have accounts. That he could do it in 6 months. He forced the bankers, go and open the account. Right? If he can do that, why can't he force all the patwaris on all the states? What's that? Who is the owner? Who is the tiller?
Because banks are more or less under the central government, whereas all the land records are with the state government.
The state government, 19 states are with him. If he does in 19, his doubling income ho jayega. This is the Modi moment.
Okay.
If he wants to transform Indian agriculture, he can call all the chief ministers of only BJP states.
And say do it.
And do it. And give them time frame within 3 months. These are the things need to be done. Will any chief minister have the guts to say we can't do it?
No, probably not.
You know, you must. Today, I'm happy in a way that there is a consolidation. But the idea is you need a champion to do it. In agriculture, we don't have a champion who can pursue. It requires perseverance on the track. First, good ideas. Just having good heart doesn't solve the problem. You need to align it with head and heart. So you need to have the ideas on the table, and 200 ideas, no way. You need only 5 ideas. And do that, and this country's agriculture will be transformed. If you can't double, at least by 50% you can increase from where they are.
And this can be done even without more money coming through the budget.
It can be done, I think, not very much more money, a little more money, and some restructuring that you will do, a food and fertilizer subsidy will give you that. That you put in water, you are assured for 25 years of food security in the country. But some laws will have to be changed, and it can be done, which will deliver within 1.5-2 years. But just by chanting and pledging or havan करने से थोड़ी हो जाएगा कि doubling of farm income हो जाएगी. कल havan शुरू कर दो.
Right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
That is the end of our very interesting discussion with Dr. Ashok Gulati. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.